Views expressed on this program are not necessarily those of Blue Ridge PBS, the Virginia Department of Education, or the Virginia Society for Technology and Education.
On this edition of the Activated Learning Podcast, we turn our eyes to the skies. Sometimes we forget that Virginia has a robust aerospace industry with launch pads at Wallops Island on the eastern shore, as well as being home to NASA's Langley Research Center, which for over 100 years has been advancing knowledge both in space and here on Earth. We traveled to Virginia Beach to learn about the work being done by both the National Institute of Aerospace and NASA, both of which provide schools with incredible classroom resources, many of which can be found on GoOpenVA, the open educational resource repository managed by the Virginia Department of Education.
Blue Ridge PBS, in partnership with the Virginia Department of Education and in collaboration with VISTI, the Virginia Society for Technology and Education, is talking to leading educators about what gets them energized and how technology is being used to inspire student engagement. This is Activated Learning.
What we've been training teachers is how to follow scientific protocols to collect air temperature data, to collect surface temperature data, soil temperature data, and then how to make cloud observations and collect that data and submit that data. I think that's so powerful to me because it really helps everybody to see themselves in some role within STEM.
Welcome to Activated Learning. I'm Tom Landon. Happy to be here in Virginia Beach. And while we were coming here for the VISTI conference, we thought it would be a great time to catch up with the folks from NASA's education program to find out what cool things they're doing. So I'm joined by Betsy McAllister. She's a NASA educator in residence, among other things, but I know you've got other titles as well.
Yes, I'm actually the National Institute of Aerospace educator in residence. You're fine. I'm the STEM teacher specialist with Hampton City Schools, and then Hampton City Schools has this amazing relationship where the city of Hampton helps to fund an educator in residence position with the National Institute of Aerospace, which is right across the way from NASA Langley Research Center. And so I kind of have a foot in Hampton City Schools and a foot in the National Institute of Aerospace.
Well, that's fun. And so tell me about your path as an educator.
Oh my goodness. Well, I didn't go through education classes. I kind of took a strange path when my degree is in biology. Went to Hollins University, and then when I graduated, I taught for a couple of years at Norfolk Academy, and then taught in Norfolk Public Schools. Took off some time with my two kids, then went back and was living on the peninsula at that time, so went back and started teaching with Hampton City Schools. I've served as the science teacher specialist with the science department in Hampton City Schools for a couple of years, and now I'm the STEM teacher specialist with Hampton City Schools.
Sounds like you're one of those people who's good at carving out kind of an interesting niche within your discipline.
Well, it's been a blessing. This position has been a blessing. So yes, it is. And I don't know how much I had to do with carving it out, but it has landed in my lap, and I'm so very fortunate.
It's nice when things work out.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, well, there's several topics on my list of things that I was asked to ask you about, but also that I'm just curious about as a media person. You know, the eClips program that NASA has just really struck a chord with me. Can you tell me what that is?
Yeah, absolutely. So NASA eClips, and it's eClips as in short video clips, is
that was a good little turn of phrase.
Yes, I like
good
it.
Name, right?
Exactly. Is a science activation project that is funded by the NASA Science Mission Directorate. And there are probably 40 different organizations that fall under science activation that receive funding. And what we do with NASA eClips is we work on educational resources to really increase STEM literacy and, students, K through, 12th grade.
Right, and we know that like short video is the most effective way to
Absolutely.
use the classroom, not watching some 2-hour movie or whatever. And I'm sure this is all based in all the right research.
It is. Yeah.
But also it's stuff that might be hard for students in rural divisions or urban divisions to access some of the kind of things that you're talking about. What are some of the topics that are most popular?
Oh gosh, we do any number of things. Some of those things are focused on NASA missions. Some of those things, like what we're working on, and then we'll probably talk about later, are more focused on the research that NASA does with gathering Earth systems data. So all of the resources that we have are easily accessed on the website and YouTube. They're downloadable. They're short. We have professional videos and any topic, whether it's talking about phases of the moon or how NASA monitors the Chesapeake Bay. All of those things are fairly short in duration, can be used flexibly in the classroom, whether that's to gather more information, whether that's to engage your audience. In addition to the short videos, we have educator guides that there's some of those are short activities. We call those our guide lights. We also have more in-depth lessons that are that we call our regular educator guides that follow the 5E instructional model. And
the 5E instructional model.
Right.
What's the 5E instructional model?
The 5E instructional model is kind of looked at as the go-to model for science instruction, where you engage the audience, and elicit their background knowledge. You give them opportunities to explore before you come in and explain. And then you have, an opportunity for them to elaborate or apply what they're learning before you come back and evaluate.
And I heard all 5 of the E's.
Yeah,
So that's
they're in there.
You got them all. So I'm sorry I interrupted you as you were talking about that, but I'm also assuming that these videos and lesson plans, there's no cost to use them, correct?
Absolutely free.
That's
Absolutely
great.
free.
That's great. And I know they're endorsed by the Department of Education because or at least they think they're pretty great because it was the folks from the DOE who said I should talk to you.
Good,
So
good.
And we all know as teachers, sometimes you get so busy teaching your class that you forget to look for outside resources. So I'm sure on the website, you probably, I don't know that you have a newsletter, but I'm sure there's a way for teachers to learn more about those things.
Absolutely. On the website, you can sign up to get our newsletter. So if we have upcoming things that are of interest to teachers, we put those in our newsletter that comes out 4 times a year. And so you can sign up to get that. And then, we are at conferences, presentations, doing professional learning experiences for different school divisions. So there's lots of ways to interact with us.
Tell me about the Coastal Virginia STEM Hub.
Absolutely. We have been working with the Coastal Virginia STEM Hub for a couple of years. We're trying to establish a STEM ecosystem in this area for teachers in Virginia Division of Education Region 2.
Right.
And so the Coastal Virginia STEM Hub has helped with sponsoring an annual STEM event. They are providing grant opportunities for teachers to do things that they might not ordinarily be able to do because they don't have the funding. And so they've just done a wonderful job of trying to help teachers connect the dots with community groups and other organizations that could really come into play and help students.
Can you give me your kind of favorite example of something that's been done here in Region 2 or is in the works that goes along with this project?
Oh, yeah. Well, this is one of the things that we've done for 4 years now is a STEM exploration community event that we have had for the last 4 years at Brooks Crossing and Newport News. And it is an opportunity for people from all over our region to come together of all ages, pre-K up through adults, and to interact with folks from NASA and 40 or 50 different community organizations that are very much involved in STEM. And each one of those organizations is at their exhibit table is having their own hands-on um, quick activity that the kids can go and participate in. And then we've got inside we have drones and other things, robotics and stuff like that. And it's free to the public. It's just been a tremendously rewarding event. I'm hoping that will continue, and we'll continue to be able to do that. Maybe move it to different areas within our region.
Sure. And as someone who's not from Region 2, first of all, the eClips and so many of your other resources I know are available to everybody. Are there any initiatives like this outside of Region 2?
They are starting. This is the first. The COVA STEM Hub was the first STEM ecosystem in Virginia, but others are working toward that. And so I don't know exactly where everybody is on the time frame, but yeah, we're not the only ones that are going to be doing this. And so absolutely. So hopefully those opportunities will be available to others throughout the state.
And even if not, they could find out when your big event is.
Absolutely.
I'm sure anybody would be welcome. So another acronym that I wanted to talk to you about is the GLOBE program. And first of all, what is it?
GLOBE. GLOBE stands for Global Learning and Observations to Benefit the Environment. And it is the NASA Mission Earth project is another science activation project along with NASA eClips. And we have our team at NASA eClips. It would be Dr. Sharon Bowers and Joan Harper-Neely, and I, as the educator in residence, have been partnering with GLOBE educators and NASA educators at NASA Langley Research Center, Jessica Taylor, Angie Rizzi, Marilei Colin-Roble, to provide training to teachers on how to use GLOBE. But basically, it's engaging students in citizen science, collecting real-world data on any number of topics, following scientific protocols, and then contributing that data to the vast database that NASA is overseeing, and other folks contributing
so a cool
to it.
project, but also something that's contributing to all of our knowledge, scientific knowledge.
Exactly.
What are some of the things they're measuring, or what's the data they're after?
You can look at it in many different ways. It's broken down by spheres, and I can tell you from what we've been focusing on in our project, we've been focusing on the atmosphere. And so what we've been training teachers is how to follow scientific protocols to collect air temperature data, to collect surface temperature data, soil temperature data, and then how to make cloud observations and collect that data and submit that data. And it's so cool. For example, with cloud observations, students can go out, make those observations, and there are any number of ways that can be submitted. They can come in and input it on a computer. There's a Globe Observer app that you can download to your mobile device, so they could do it on a mobile device out there in the field. But they submit that data, and essentially what our students are doing is they're kind of providing the ground truthing for what our satellites that are passing overhead are seeing. They're looking down on us, and we're looking up on them.
Affirming, and also it's a crowdsourced way to collect data that doesn't require a whole bunch of employees to be out doing that.
Right. And we may not agree with what they saw, but that's okay. That's a whole nother story. That's another question for our students to ponder. The neat thing about the cloud observations is that within a day or two of students making that observation and submitting it to NASA, NASA will email the teacher or the classroom with what they're seeing, what the satellite saw.
Here's a picture of what it looked like from above while you're looking at it.
This is what we saw. So so the kids are, oh my gosh, NASA emailed us. I mean, it's pretty exciting.
Well, and this is off topic a little bit, but one thing that strikes me, you were describing the list of people you work with at the various places. They were all women, weren't they?
Yes, they were. They are.
And so what a great model too, as we're trying to increase participation of girls in the sciences obviously men can do it too, right?
Right, right.
But that's really cool. And it sounds like you've got a good team that all works together.
Absolutely. And I think that's so powerful to me because it really helps everybody to see themselves in some role within STEM. Maybe it's not going to be a STEM career per se, but they will be STEM literate and be capable of being a decision maker and an engaged citizen.
Evaluating information when someone tells you something is happening. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, just being able to understand science, I think science literacy is obviously a huge issue that you've probably thought a lot about.
Right. Well, it's, we've got a long way to go with our science scores in Virginia. And to me, one of the ways that we really engage students in that is connecting what they're learning to a real world problem. We've got real world environmental problems, and the GLOBE program helps to connect them. They're getting the opportunity to, collect that data, analyze that data, make some sense of that data. And then they've also got this huge pool of data that they can use for research purposes. So there are opportunities for students to go above and beyond and do research and present in symposia too.
And getting that early on in their education career sounds like, there are kids in elementary school doing this and all the way up. But like them when they get to a science governor school or a really good science course and an AP science course, they've already, that teacher doesn't have to teach the scientific method. The kids could probably teach it to them, right? This is what I learned.
This is Activated Learning.
Chronic absenteeism means I'm missing 2 days a month, which is 18 days a year. Parents need to ask their school, how many days has my child missed?
Subscribe to the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Blue Ridge PBS Echo TV.
This is, again, kind of a broader question, but a lot of this is based on the idea of field work. Right? Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of times kids, when they are told they're doing research, the first place they go is not to the real world, right? They're searching other people's information. What's the importance of actually collecting field data for kids in science?
I think, first of all, I just think it's very important for us to help our students connect with the outside world. I think we've become, somewhat disconnected. And so I think that's really, really important. And I think that, having those opportunities, to do that are really critical for kids. I mean, we can do an activity in our classroom and collect the data, but maybe the data, nothing happens with the data. This is, as you said, an opportunity for that data to go on and really have meaning. I think it's also important for students to understand that there are a lot of times if you ask a student about, what is a scientist? What does a scientist look like? You ask them to draw a scientist. They're going to draw a white male in a lab coat. And so I think it's really important to help students see that there are many different ways to be a scientist, and there are many different places that science occurs. And so I think there's a lot of value in having students conducting field work.
And I think, I've heard it said that, all children, especially very young children, are they're kind of natural born scientists. They're doing, it may not be, perfectly constructed experimentation, but they are doing experiments every single day.
But they're asking questions. They're trying to figure out. Yes, right.
All of those things.
Exactly.
I'm super excited to learn more as we go forward about the kind of work you're doing. We only have a couple minutes left. Is there anything that I haven't asked you about that you want to make sure that our listeners and viewers know?
Yeah, I think so. One of the things that I'm really excited about as far as our collaboration, the National Institute of Aerospace's Center for Integrative STEM Education's collaboration with GLOBE and through the COVA STEM Hub, is that we've been able to partner with 3 school divisions have really taken us up on the offer. Hampton City Schools, Newport News Public Schools, and Portsmouth Public Schools have really taken us up on the offer to come out and be trained. The teachers have been trained. And then what we have been able to do with the COVID STEM Hub grant is provide the equipment and an instrument shelter that's being installed on the school grounds that folks can use.
So like a real scientific
Exactly.
station, right?
It is.
What is in one of those?
There's a rain gauge. There's a digital min-max thermometer that'll measure air temperature and soil temperature. They'll get a infrared thermometer so they can measure surface temperature, and there are a couple of other little things in there. But the idea being that, let's take some of the barriers off of our teachers and let's get them what they need. So we are working with a number of community groups because we found out early on that the main supplier of our instrument shelter couldn't keep up with the demand. So we've been partnering with Norfolk Technical Center and Hampton City Schools and Youth Build. They're constructing instrument shelters, and then they're going to help us to install those instrument shelters on school grounds. So they're benefiting from the experience as well.
Cross-curricular.
Exactly.
Right? And we think about the fact that back in our own colonial history, people like Thomas Jefferson were taking temperature readings every day and soil samples and all of that. But also, of course, we go back to even pre-colonial times back in Europe where that stuff was going on. So I think it's, as a social studies person, I love the idea that these kids are collecting data, and I could see ways that you could connect.
Absolutely. And that's the great piece is that we really want it to be integrative STEM education happening so that the social studies comes in, so that writing opportunities come in. So all of that, there's so many ways that this could go for the school divisions, but those 3 school divisions are going to embed NASA eClips resources and the Globe experiences into their curriculum. So we know that not just a small pocket of kids is going to get it, every student will have the opportunity. And that's so important that every student gets those meaningful investigations.
Absolutely. Well, Betsy, it's been a pleasure talking to you. Thanks for making the trip over here to the Convention Center.
Absolutely.
And I look forward to finding out more about what you all are doing.
All right. Well, thanks for having me.
For Activated Learning, I'm Tom Landon. You can subscribe to the Activated Learning podcast wherever you get your podcasts, or find us on YouTube. Thanks for watching.
This is Activated Learning.
Anywhere that we're building barriers, I just want to think about where we can remove them and how we can make spaces better for kids.
Many vendors have sort of realized that they should be prioritizing accessibility and usability in their tools.
Subscribe to the podcast on Amazon Music, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and Blue Ridge PBS Echo TV.
Activated Learning is produced by Blue Ridge PBS in partnership with the Virginia Department of Education
and in collaboration with VISTI, the Virginia Society for Technology and Education.
This podcast is hosted and produced by Tom Landon, Director of Educational Innovation, with lots of help from graphic and audio designer Jay Prater.
Additional support provided by Andy Depew in our podcast studio.
Our Vice President of Education is Dr. Rose Martin.
Special thanks to Calypso Gilstrap, Associate Director of the Office of Educational Technology and Classroom Innovation
at the Virginia Department of Education.
Our credits are read by students at Westside and Highland Park Elementary Schools in Roanoke, Virginia.
If you like what you hear, subscribe to Activated Learning wherever you get your podcasts, or watch the Echo channel at blueridgepbs.org.